Hey guys, Rick here from Maple Syrup Tech. I've been talking about it for a few weeks now, about getting a Ryzen 3 processor for the channel since we're a budget-oriented channel and working a lot with that processor, seeing how it compares with different video cards and all that. I did explain, however, that even though the launch was almost 2 weeks ago, that here in Canada, for some reason, all Ryzen 3 processors, the 1200 and the 1300X, are back-ordered. Well, today, finally, I think we're going to be getting to the end of the journey of getting that processor, because there is a store about 40 kilometers away from my house, which is somewhere around 25 miles, that has the processor, and it's supposed to be in stock. They have it in the store. Unfortunately, on all the websites here in Canada, it seems to be back-ordered, or if it doesn't say back-order, it says they don't know when it'll be shipping, which basically means back-ordered. So hopefully today we're going to be leaving the store with a Ryzen 1200 processor. Now unfortunately the store will not let me film inside, so I'll be seeing you guys again once I have that processor in hand, and then we'll be going back to my workshop and starting the testing on that processor. So I hope you guys appreciate, because we're going through a lot of trouble to get this chip. I can't believe that for a entry-level chip like this, it actually was way harder than getting my Ryzen 7, which I pre-ordered and got the day of. Well, anyway, see you guys later. Well guys, as you can see, it was a success. We've got our Ryzen 3 processor. Like I said, I got the 1200, because basically, so far as in the previous generations, if you overclock it, you get pretty much the same performance you're going to get at the 1300X. And you pay cheaper for the processor, and since we're going to be overclocking for sure, well, this is the best value price for the moment. And on top of it, finally, I got myself a 1 terabyte hard drive, portable hard drive that I'm going to basically be dedicating to installing all my games on. So I won't have to be installing them every time on a new system when we're doing builds, and I want to do benchmarks, which means that benchmarks should be a lot quicker with this. So with these purchases, we're off home. We're going to unbox this Ryzen 3, and in the following weeks, like I said, we're going to be following up with a lot of videos on comparisons using the Ryzen 3 processor and seeing just how much we can pull out of this little budget processor. So hope you guys appreciate all the work, and I'll see you guys in a few minutes for the unboxing. Hey guys, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the trip to go pick up the processor. We're back at my shop now. And as you can see, I already had set the test bed up since a couple of weeks ago, when I actually did the unboxing for the AM4 motherboard I got specifically for this processor. So as you can see, we're just going to go over the components. So I have a CX 600 watt Corsair power supply down here on my test bench. That was already there. It's part of my regular test bench setup. 250 gigabyte hard drive, because this is just for the OS. So basically OS and some testing programs are on this. The games I'm going to have on that separate hard drive that I now purchased for testing purposes, which is interesting. It's going to save a lot of time, so I'm really looking forward to actually downloading Steam, setting that all up. So we're going to be doing it over this test bench period, but after that it'll be set up for all the future. For the DDR4 memory, the one I received in the video that we unboxed at the same time as the motherboard was actually defective, so I had to get it switched. I tested it in my main rig, so I got it switched. So if you saw it, it's the exact same memory, it's just that instead of being red, there are silver DIMMs instead. But it's the same thing. It's going to be 8 gigabytes of DDR4 2400. Since it's a Ryzen 3, I'm going with what I expect to be the average setup for this. I wouldn't expect someone to go buy a Ryzen 3 and then invest like $200 in like 16 gigabytes of 3200 memory. I mean, you could if you're looking at eventually upgrading, but this processor is aimed at the budget market, meaning that I'm expecting to have a semi-budget setup. The graphics card, by the way, for the moment, I have the Gigabyte WindForce GTX 770 on here. This isn't what I'm going to be doing most of the testing with. It's just that my RX 480 is in use right now, so I'm going to use this one just to set up the test bench, install the OS, because I'm going to do a clean wipe and install Windows 10 instead of Windows 7, since we are looking at a Ryzen processor, and theoretically Ryzen 7 isn't officially supported, so I don't want to be using Windows 7, which is what I was using with my previous test bench. So we're going to be wiping it, putting Windows 10 on there. So, you know, without further ado, we're going to put the test bench aside. We're going to do the unboxing of the Ryzen 3, and then we'll come back to pop it in the test bench, and so you guys can see how things are going to be going and what I'm going to be working with for the next couple of weeks. So there should be a regular stream of videos coming out over like the next 14 days. Regarding this Ryzen 3 processor, we're going to be looking at a lot of the cooling. By the way, if any of you were following my CPU cooler saga, I popped out one video and I was supposed to come out with many others, but one of my friends and also a couple of the comments mentioned that since I was using an FX 6300 on my test bench, it wasn't really realistic with today's CPUs. So I'm going to reboot that series, and we're going to be doing all the testing now using the Ryzen 3 1200 overclocked for CPU testing. So basically you'll get a more realistic idea of what the budget CPU coolers work with today's CPUs, and not, you know, an older FX series. In my mind, I said I'm going to use the FX series because it was one of the worst CPUs for heat dissipation, but at the same time, my friend, you know, made sense. Yes, but going forward, not many people are going to be investing in those CPUs, so they're not going to really want to see performance with that in it, which does make sense. So, you know, I'm prepared to reboot that series, so we're going to restart testing with this. We are probably not going to be testing the low profile coolers because the results I was getting was so awful that we're going to just look at the regular standard tower coolers. One day we might revisit the low profile ones, but we're going to start with standard. So, like I said, let's get the test bench out of the way and let's do the unboxing. Okay, so let's open this up. Most of you have probably already seen this because the CPU, like I said, isn't brand new. But here is our Ryzen 3 processor with a case sticker identifying it as Ryzen 3. So it's not only Ryzen, but it really says Ryzen 3. And what takes up most of the volume of the box, of course, is the CPU cooler that comes with it, which is the Ryzen Stealth. Most of you already know, but it's basically the tuned down version of the new CPU cooler from AMD. And this is pre-applied with some thermal paste, but we're actually going to be wiping that off in a couple of seconds, because for all my cooling testing I always use the same paste, which is Arctic MX4. It's just because it's a mid-range compound, meaning that it has very good performance without being maybe the best on the market, but mostly it's because it settles instantly, meaning that most thermal pastes tell you to wait like maybe 24 or even sometimes a week before you'll get maximum performance out of it, while Arctic MX4 is supposed to settle instantly, meaning that if you do your testing, you start your testing like 5 or 10 minutes after you apply it, theoretically your paste should be already performing at near maximum results. So when you get this cooler, it's a pretty decent looking cooler from the top. You're going to have your paste pre-applied on it, so if you're not looking at, you know, testing or whatnot, just use the paste that comes with it. I'm pretty sure AMD knows what they're doing with their pastes, and honestly you can't get better application than this. It's like factory applied. So pretty decent cooler. And lastly, obviously you always get at the bottom, actually there is no information booklet in this one. Ryzen 7 has an information booklet, so Ryzen 3 doesn't apparently. So there we go, we have our Ryzen 3 1200. Let's just pop it out, take a real good look at the CPU before I pop it in the bench. So the next part of the video you'll see a close-up, and we'll be working on the bench. Just be careful not to get any of the pins bent, and that moved when I opened it. There we go. So hope you guys can see it. We've got a processor, we've got our Ryzen 3 1200. So next, let's go install it on the test bench. Okay, so we're back with a close-up of our motherboard. So we're going to install the CPU. This isn't pretty much news to any of you, but we open up the latch. On the CPU, you start with finding your golden corner, which is right there, and you're going to have a matching golden corner indication on your CPU socket. So you line those two up, and you drop the CPU in, which takes absolutely no force. And then we are going to just close your latch. And our CPU is installed. Now, since we are using the stock cooler, I removed basically the brackets that come on it, because you use the back plate, but you install the CPU into the, but you have to remove the brackets first. So we're going to install our CPU like that. Just want to make sure that my fan header, actually I think we're going to have to install it like this because the fan cable is pretty short. Anyway, we're not going for aesthetics since this is a test bench. So like I said, I wiped off the thermal paste that comes with the AMD cooler, as you can see. One thing I was really disappointed when I saw this cooler for real for the first time was that there's no copper center on this one. So I'm really interested. That's one of the first videos we're going to do. We're going to compare this cooler to the version of the cooler that came with the Ryzen 7 and Ryzen 5, like all CPUs except there were 1400. That's actually maybe a lot of paste, but it's going to be enough. It's going to be okay. It's maybe a little bit more than I would have normally put, so we're going to just center that. Your screwdriver was on. We're going to get one of these gripped. There we go. Then we're going to get the other side gripped. Sorry about that. You're just hearing basically the bottom of the backplate hitting against the test bed. So don't worry. Those noises are not creaks from the motherboard. They're just the backplate actually hitting the motherboard. There we go. Put a couple in there. Going to make sure that the last one's going in. Yeah, it is. There we go. So now we're going to tighten the other ones, going in a cross pattern. 2, 3, and 4. And there we go. So we've got our test bench set up now. All I've got left to do is the OS installation and whatnot. So there we go, guys. We have our finished product. So we have the CPU installed here. Like I said, the WindForce graphics card to start out with. Although it's an older card, it's a pretty good looking card when you look at it from the front. Disappointing things back then is that they didn't put any back plates on the PCBs most of the time. Nowadays they still don't on lower end cards, but on a 770 normally aftermarket card you would expect it a back plate nowadays because that was a $600-700 card back in the day. So we've got our test bench set up, and like I said, we'll be coming back with a couple of videos. One of the first videos we're going to do is we're actually going to compare the Raid Stealth Spire to the Ryzen Spire, the regular size Spire, with the, like I said, the biggest difference, I think, yes, the fin stack is like double sized on the Spire, but what I think is really going to make a difference is the fact that there's no copper core on this one, while the Ryzen Spire, the full-size one, actually has a copper core. My version is even the one with the LED lights because it came with my Ryzen 7. So we're going to start out with comparing those two coolers, But before that, I'm going to have a lot of work before me, putting the OS on, getting everything set up, installing the games on the removable hard drive I got. So, I'll see you guys in a few days for the next video, and check out later tonight or tomorrow, you should also be getting the tech news. So thank you very much for watching. Likes are always appreciated, subscriptions are loved even more, and like I said, I'll see you guys in the next video.